soon as I got off the air last night talking about billionaires and multimillionaires and one percenters whining, Tom Perkins was appearing before the Commonwealth Club in San Francisco. And boy, did he let us have it. Full plutocratic id on display. He whined about current levels of taxation.
Taxation, I wouldn't say it's a form of persecution, but the extreme progressivity of the tax rate is a form of persecution.
He talked about the failure of the war on poverty.
The war on poverty made it possible to have single mothers supporting their children without a working man in the household, and so the numbers have just changed radically. The divorce rates have skyrocketed.
He expressed his dismay at the demonization of the 1% and his admiration for John D. Rockefeller.
We never used to have a demonization of the 1%. We wanted to be in the 1%. We admired them. I can remember when I was a little kid, John D. Rockefeller would go around and give dimes to little children. And I thought, how wonderful. You know, I'd like to be John D. Rockefeller and give dimes.
And then in his most controversial statement, he had this to say in response to the Commonwealth Club's signature question, what is your 60-second idea to change the world?
Thomas Jefferson, at the beginning of this country, thought that to vote you had to be a landowner. Now, that didn't last very long, and the vote was given to everyone. But the basic idea was you had to be a taxpayer or a person of property to vote. That went by the boards. So the Tom Perkins system is you don't get to vote unless you pay $1 of taxes. But what I really think is it should be like a corporation. If you pay $1 million in taxes, you should get 1 million votes. How's that?
Asked at a press conference afterward whether he was serious about the idea of a vote for every buck paid in taxes, Perkins backtracked kind of, saying, no, I was trying to be outrageous, and I was. Really? How many other people in Tom Perkins' cohort think what he thinks about the 99% and just have the good sense not to say it in polite company? Joining me now is Josh Harkinson, who is crashing the party, a reporter with Mother Jones. He was at the talk last night live tweeting it, which is how I found out about what Tom Perkins was saying. What was the reception what was the atmosphere there? Did the people there recognize that he was saying preposterous things? Did he recognize that he was saying preposterous things?
Well, I think people certainly did. I mean, there was laughter when he proposed his tax plan. You know, the press conference afterwards was one of the strangest ones I've been to. Usually reporters just jump all over each other to ask questions, and people were just shell-shocked. You know, they didn't know what to ask. There were just long moments of silence where reporters just couldn't figure out what to ask him. What
I thought was an incredibly revealing exchange when I was talking about sort of full plutocratic id was what he had to say about Medicare and how he felt about Medicare, and then he compared that to food stamps. Take a listen.
Medicare will go bankrupt. It's inevitable. So taxes have to be spent on Medicare. I'm for that.
And so the entitlements that you're against are?
I didn't say I was against entitlements. I never said that. But there are good ones and there are bad ones.
And the bad ones are?
I doubt that 77 million people need to be on food stamps.
Food stamps, okay.
Just a correction there, it's 47 million, not 77 million people on food stamps. But also, this to me was just such a perfect little window. It's like Medicare, the thing that I use, probably, the thing that I'm on, the thing that people I know am on, that's the good kind of government welfare. The food stamps, the thing that the young ruffians picking up dimes in the street get, that I don't like.
Yeah, you know, I don't think the political satirists, the yes men, could have done a better job you know, doing a caricature of an out-of-touch plutocrat. I mean, it was just so completely self-defeating throughout that you have to just wonder why he did it.
Well, I think what I like about him and what I like about this speech is that I do think these views, I've heard them in certain circumstances. I've sometimes been in reporting situations off the record after everyone's had a few drinks when I'm kind of doing reporting, particularly in the world of finance, where you start to hear stuff like this. And I do think it's useful and refreshing for someone to actually say it in public.
Oh, completely. You know, and you have to give him credit for that. I mean, he's being honest. He's speaking his mind. And, you know, I've lived and reported in the Bay Area for a long time, and, you know, I go to a lot of parties with techies, and there are people who believe these things. They're just not willing to come out and say it. And so, in some sense, he's doing us a service by telling us what I don't think the majority of people think, but a lot of people in Silicon Valley think.
This is Judson Phillips in November 2010. This is the Tea Party Nation president saying the founding fathers really said they put certain restriction on who gets the right to vote. It wasn't you were just a citizen, you automatically got to vote. Some of the restrictions, you know, you obviously would not think about today. But one of those was that you had to be a property owner. And that makes a lot of sense, because if you're a property owner, you actually have a vested stake in the community. And if you're not a property owner, you know, I'm sorry, but property owners have a little bit more of a vested stake in the community than non-property owners. There is a view on the right. I don't think it's necessarily prevalent in the Republican Party, in the legislature or in Congress, but in movement conservatism, there is a view that democracy itself, one person, one vote, is actually radically egalitarian in a dangerous way.
Yeah, and I think there's a deep frustration on the part of Perkins and his ilk about their sort of lack of political power in relationship to how much economic power they have.